Whoa.
We're here. Yes. Hello, everybody. So glad you're here again to join in with Marian and I
Hi.
for thinking about some of the poems and the dragons joining in the fun and creating more fun. And we're just here and we're very happy about where things are headed. Marian, how are you feeling about it?
I'm enthusiastic. Uh, the, so which one are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about that one that I said we were going to talk about. It is uh, creating life, and I am going to. Where's the? There's it is. I was having trouble seeing the share screen there, and here it is. Um,
Ah,
yes, and I'm going to go a little bigger. I will. Oh, whoa! Don't want to do that to everybody. uh, okay, I just had to get it the right size so I could see the words. Uh,
mhm.
and of course, the bigger it is, and I can enlarge it after a bit to see the illustrations better. But yes, today is a beautiful day here in St. Louis, Missouri. Don't know where you might be listening from, but it's a gorgeous day. It's going to be hot today, but that's okay. A little heat is good, I suppose. Um, and this, well, maybe Marian, do you think I should just read the poem and then we'll talk?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay. Okay. Let's just think about this because it's kind of about every day for us. Creating life, textures of life. Vincent's visions of cypress and crows declared in the quick, sure strokes of his palette knife, deftly deposited oils, striated, blended, delineated. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm going to start this whole thing again because I realize that I am straining to see this.
Oh,
And I'm going to have to do this again real quickly here. I am so sorry. I've got to do this. I can't minimize. I got to go back to this. Um, I will have it right here. And there we are. Now let me do it controlled. Okay. It went away again.
oh
See, you can still see it, can't you?
no. Right now, I'm looking at you.
Okay. Let's do this screen share once again. Um, okay, let me do this. I'm really sorry. This technical stuff should not be happening like this. Um, what I can do is this. I want to go back to here and I want to go to right here. And then we'll share screen. Let me get rid of this. Pull this up. Share. I'm sorry, everybody, for this. Okay, let's try this one more time. I found out there's something I can't click. I've got to be very careful about that. Okay, let's
Okay,
start
good.
again. Sorry about that, but we will get into this now. Creating life, textures of life. Vincent's visions of cypress and crows declared in the quick, sure strokes of his palette knife, deftly deposited oils, striated, blended, delineated hues of cerulean blues, verdant greens, glowing yellows, rich vermilions, reflections and understanding of the texture and vibrational spirit of life. That same spirit captured, expressed by Vincent's own hands on Vincent's own canvas. Soul of the world, power of the universe, extant in all, realized by few. Some, though, see and know, accept and enjoy, express and harmonize, composing self-portraits with their own daily work. Mechanics with grease-impacted fingernails, carpenters with hammer-calloused hands, salespersons with authentic smiles, servers with meticulous memories, chief financial officers with pensions for analysis, teachers greeting students with joy. All may paint the universe of their creation.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, and it's just kind of a poem of looking at life in our own ways, not the way people tell us we have to do, not the way society says we should be, but to realize that there is just as beautiful as in Vincent van Gogh's paintings, we can each paint our life every day by the way we approach it. And to capture the essence of spirit that we each have deep down within. We have heart, we are spirit, expressions of spirit incarnate. And here we are. And then when I'd written that, and I feel strongly about the poem, and I love it. And it says so much to me that everybody has it, not a lot of people. And I write a poem like this maybe so that a few other people might think, wow, my life, this is really beautiful. And then here come the dragons. And they just illustrate perfectly what the message was to me. Do you want to talk about the picture, Marian?
Yeah. So the job, quote, the job that I have, or my brain has, is trying to figure out what's up. In this case, there were actual literal words that were used, like painting. So, some of the poems, there's not specific words that you can pin down, but in this case, there was painting. And I tell you what, so I think I take the poem and I print it out and I walk around with it when I'm walking around, and something absorbs me. Here they're painting, and suddenly the dragons all wanted to get out their paints and paint. and they started doing it, and I called you, Mike. I said, my God, the dragons are painting. It just made me laugh. And you see, they're just having the most wonderful time, and they all have brushes and do the best thing. Anyway, it struck me as very funny, which sort of leads to the question of who are they anyway? And we talked earlier about the idea of child. These are childish, or these are 4-year-old dragons. That's my story. They're 4-year-olds. They had a good, happy, contented childhood. Apparently, they have a yard to run around in. Their parents like them, so that's not always the case. So they're happy guys. So what happens to lots of us? We have memories of things that we wish we didn't have, and we have to overcome those. So I'm very curious about where these dragons come from, and I'm not really clear. So if somebody out there has a clue, I'd appreciate it.
And I love the spirit of the child that is there. It's so beautiful. And you know what you brought up is that there are a lot of us have healing that we need, that we desire. Some people realize it and seek it. Some people don't, and they just go on perhaps being unhappy and don't seek help. But our inner child is often wounded when we're young because of traumatic things that happen that are beyond our control. But boy, when you get right back to that inner child deep down within, here is an illustration of the inner child, just filled with
So
wonder about life. Yeah.
the issue we always, and we talk about this, is how do we do this? What has to happen? I always think if we can do it, you can do it. You had a friend that responded from England or Britain or somewhere.
Yes, yes.
Are you in touch with her?
I've watched a few of her videos. She produces videos every week, and
Mhm.
I comment there about things. And she talks, and she is falls in the realm of a mystic and a shaman, and uh, but she's also a licensed therapist. She's a therapist, and
Training? Is she a degree or anything?
yeah, I don't know exactly because I have never seen her degree, but I know that
Oh,
she's worked with the government.
okay.
She's worked with the government there in some government programs and stuff for well, actually, in helping. One of the things she did for several years was helping veterans, military veterans
Yeah.
who were struggling with things like PTSD and different issues. She worked very extensively with them.
Mhm.
So yeah, she gets it. She
Yeah.
understands, and part of what she knows is what I think. Whether you use the same words or not is not important, too important most of the time, unless it's just something totally different. But the idea is that we do have this inner part of us that often gets wounded, but there's that part of us that is pure, that is like a child. I know I've referred here on here to William Blake before, and he wrote 2 volumes of poetry called Songs of Innocence, one called Songs of Innocence, and it was about the child that's never been really hurt, harmed, corrupted. It's the closest thing to nature that we can be as human beings when we're a child. And then there's the songs of experience, where you realize the world is not always just childhood.
Mhm.
Um, and and things come in that need to be addressed. And so he does that in poems that are very simple in many ways, but just so powerful. And then he um, he came back after a number of years and he said, wait, there's a third state. We have 2 states of humans. There's the innocent state and there's the experience state, where you realize, hey, there are scumbags, cheaters. There are people who struggle. There are people who are poor. There are people who are experienced with life. But then he says there's this thing of organized innocence. He came to this third thing of organized innocence, where you realize, yes, things aren't right with me or the world, but the way to address it, the way to live in that, the way to live painting on your own canvas, singing your own song like the dragons are doing, the way to address that is to tap into that inner child and to get back to
Mhm.
the wonder and awe of everything that's around us. And sometimes it's very difficult when we've experienced hard things to get back to that. But knowing who we are deep down inside is the only way to really fix it. A lot of people go through things and they get help for a while and then it doesn't help after a while.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
can't
would
get
disagree with you. Here is proof that you know how to do that.
Well, I do it.
You tap into who you are. You tap into those, well, that deep, mysterious part of being a human being, the spirit part.
Here's something that I have a sense. So part of it has to do with my age. I'm 86 right now, and it's a different age bracket than what I was used to before, and a lot of us aren't this current age. And what happens? So here's what I think. I talk to people as much as I can who are on my Facebook page, or I say, let's chat. Their 60s and their 60s, 70s, 60s and 70s. The 60-year-olds that I get to talk with they're semi-retired or they're retired and they're not sure what to do. what should I do now? And that kind of thing. I did this, and now what? And what can I do that matters? And so, and how are you feeling? I feel good. My hip hurts sometimes. Then we get to the 70-year-olds, and they've already done that, and they tried that, and they don't feel well, and somebody died, and 3 other people died. There's that they're dealing with. One I talked to said, but I can create. I'm an artist, and she's very good also. Her husband's not well, and so on and so on. She wants to fermentize her business career so she can make more money now. That's that kind of stuff. Trying hard. Then there are the 80-year-olds who say, I'm 80, a lot of people have died. We miss them all. We're kind of used to it, but we don't like it. What do I do now? How long am I going to live? And I said, oh, I need to use my time. There's all that going on, which I think is fascinating. And I don't get to talk to 80-year-olds because they're all busy being, and we don't have much chatting going on. So for me, the dragons show up as a satire, of course, satire and what I view as human, and very childish, or what we view as childish. And I'm not sure I understand where it really comes from. So if you know out there, let me know. But I do know that when I read this poem, I had a whole bunch of in my head. Oh, 3 or 4 dragons were appearing carrying their paintbrushes. Like, okay, then. I couldn't help it. They plopped themselves on the page and started singing.
And I love that, okay, we'll sing while we're doing this.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't? Look at the yellow one down there. I guess he can't.
I love it.
Stand. So anyway, for me personally, I'm really enjoying the chance for the dragons to do something.
And I love whatever it is. So to me, this is the surface, the face of it here. But the thing you were talking about, like you said, you mentioned something that really struck a chord with me, that you don't know where the dragons come from, really.
Right.
And in some ways, I don't really know where the words come from. Or why it is that sometimes I look at something and I think, oh, poem. And other times, there's just a tree. Okay, big deal. Where does that come from? And part of it, if we just sit with self, to me, that's part of it, and think about it. And what you said about what people doing things, I did want to mention this because I think that both of us in our own way are being authentic to our inner child, and we're allowing healing to occur, or have allowed healing to occur, because these things come out. But you can be creative no matter what you do, whether you're a jeweler or a teacher, or like things I mentioned here in the poem, carpenter or mechanic. You can be creative and enjoy it, and realize that this is my inner child expressing itself, himself or herself. And so one of the things why I'm saying this is because of what you mentioned, that you're 86. And I am one of those 60-year-olds, not for much longer though, because I mean a year, but in a couple of days here, I'm going to be 69. On June the 5th, I'll be 69 years old. So for those of you out there listening, and you're thinking, like, what do I do? Marian and I haven't had done anything together before this little adventure, before this little project. But while Marian has had a long career in terms of the arts and photography, especially, I was a teacher for a long time. And I've just been writing and writing and writing in the past 12 years. And I had the words, I had these poems. I've written hundreds and hundreds of articles, and I've written a couple of books that I self-published. I've got a novel that I haven't finished revising, but it didn't happen until I was much older in life. So, and here's my point. When I taught, I feel like I lived what I write about here. I lived myself. I was creating. I loved my students. I loved using the curriculum that I taught to help them tap into these kinds of things for themselves. And that's why I have hundreds of former students, hundreds and hundreds of former students that are friends on Facebook and that still remember me and still remember stuff from 20 years ago that we dealt with, and they will contact me and let me know. And it's lovely. It's wonderful. But I was doing this. And so when I retired, I'm just like, this is what I want to do now, to express who I am, to be who I am, and to awaken to myself, to have this heart awakening. And when that happens, I just wanted to allow this inner child to express itself, to be me, which was express myself as spirit incarnate. And that's exactly what I do when I write this. And whatever words you choose to use, that anybody chooses to use, that you, if you're listening, would choose to use, when you awaken to how great you really are inside, and you start realizing that, then it's really awesome to look at other people and realize they have that same deep down thing within them, and they can do it. And so, like, right here, whether it's a carpenter or a mechanic or a chief financial officer or whatever, you can express yourself and end up like the dragons, no matter what you're doing, being engaged and happy and thinking about it. And it doesn't mean it's going to be like that all the time, but what it means is you know where it is deep down inside you.
I don't think they can.
So you don't think that people can do that?
No.
Why
No.
did we?
Huh?
How could we then? Or how could I then?
I don't know. We don't know.
It's a matter, you're right, there's no formula. It's very individual, but what I do know is that people have that spirit part, that inner child
you
part.
call it the inner child. I have a story, a little story.
Okay, good.
I used to walk around in Forest Park every morning, and I ran into the woman one morning, a Black woman, about 63 or 4, and I was about 74. And we got walking together, and we got talking, and she's a wonderful person who lived with her daughter in one half of a bedroom in a small location somewhere in the middle of St. Louis City. And she didn't have any money much, but she had such a good heart. We talked about stuff. And I was producing books. So her daughter had 3 jobs, and she also had her grandson living there. It's a very small location. Her daughter was feisty and anxious and trying to make money, and this woman had a disability. I don't know. It's not enough money and a lot of anxiety. So I said, okay, I was between books, and I said, can you draw anything? She said, well, no. I said, perfect. This is what I invite you to do. Get a piece of paper. We need 24 pages or 40 pages of doodles, drawings. Do something on paper, and I'll make you a book. She said, well, okay, I guess. Okay. And she did it. And she got a pad of paper, and she made these doodles and lines and circles, and she drew a cat, or, she drew stuff. And she gave it to me, and I scanned it into the computer, and I made a book, a real book. And her name is on the cover of this book. And took a few weeks to get this. This was a black and white book, and it was not difficult at the time. And I had the book. I was really excited. We met at the park. And I gave her the book, and there's her name on the cover of this book, and how these doodles in there. And she's like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Fun. She took it home, or wherever she lived, and we met at the park a few days later. And she said, "You will not believe what happened." I said, "What happened?" I showed my daughter this book, and she went into a rant. "Who do you think you are that you can make a book like this? How can you? How dare you? How dare you?" That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, perfect.
Absolutely.
That's what we wanted to happen. Your daughter says, "Oh my God, if she can do it, maybe I can do it." And she got that. And then her grandson had the same reaction. He said, "Grandma, it made such a eruption of a situation change for her." Of course, she showed it to some of her friends, and she belonged to a church. She was very fundamental, some church thing. And they wanted to produce a book, that's like, I wouldn't do it. So the impact of allowing. So what I'm saying is, I keep saying this each time. You may say, "I can't do it because."
Yeah.
Oh, so what? And I say, "So what?" I can say that now. And you're saying, like, we can now. So what? So. And that's where a lot of us are. So I can't. Yeah. So I'm for you out there. Yeah, do something.
See, that to me, that's an awesome story. That's a beautiful story. I love
It's even true. It's even true.
Yes. And that's exactly what my hope is from doing this, is that people will respond like that, like you just offered to them. Yes, you can just try something. And you know what you said, what you did with that lady was exactly what I'm talking about. You encouraged her to get in touch with her inner child. Doodle, scribbles, draw. Almost all little kids will do something, even if if they're not really good. I think you encouraged her to do exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't have to be the same words, the same thing. To me, the principle is the same. You can access that deep part of yourself that lets you express who you are. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So we're designing the cover
Yes.
of this book.
Yes.
And I had the idea, you don't have a picture. It's too late to put a picture of the potential cover on there, is it?
I can do it pretty quickly.
You could.
Do you want me to?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah. Okay.
We can talk about it for a second. Title with comment. Oh, good, you did that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and there are the nice commas.
Let me, yes.
So we came up with.
I'm sorry. I just undid it. There it is again.
So that's fine. It doesn't have to be,
Okay.
big.
Okay.
So there are two things about the cover, or three things. For those of you who are creating books, the edges of the pages are all white. They're all white. So there's an inch margin around all the text. We came up with the title of one of the poems themselves for the title of the book, Poems, Dragons, and Friends. What I did in creating this thing was I put the actual page of this book on the cover. The drawings are wonderful, of course. The dragons are very happy and those all very good. However, I just plunked the text of the page on the cover. So we had a discussion, which is always fun, like, you really want to put the poem on the actual cover? So this is something for we're thinking about this. And I said, well, no reasonable person would give away, so to speak, a poem on the cover of their book. Why would you do that? Poets don't do that. I'm saying, however, just because it's enticing to see this story on the cover of the book. The print's a little small, maybe too really hard to see the poem, but clearly it's on there. And then my reaction is, let's turn the page and see what's going on in the book. So yeah, I wish we could talk to you guys, but anyway, so we're thinking about that. We may not include the poem. So
yeah, we'll decide. We've got a little time, and you all should know that we are down to the design portion, so it won't be terribly long. I mean, it'll be a little bit, but won't be terribly long before you have something more to look at. I wanted to. I don't know how we do need to see how it prints out with the words, but maybe it's immaterial, like you said, Marian.
Yeah, I think
I like this, and this brings out something else
right
to me about this project and what we've done, and about valuing that deep part of us that we can communicate with one another. This is just something that, I mean, I belong to the St. Louis Publishers Association. I'm on the board of directors. Nobody there would ever say this is a good idea. I can guarantee that. But guess what? My inner child is like, oh my gosh, this is lovely. It doesn't matter. I love, and this is kind of the attitude that we've had. We're not, Marian and I are, we've talked about this pretty much. We want to share the energy of this. And just the way, Marian, your story is just so beautiful with that lady. I will remember this. I'll probably write about this today, in fact, about your story. That we want to encourage people, or we want to share this energy with people to just help them to help themselves, to help them smile, and to like, oh, there it is. Wasn't even thinking about that. It's right here. Smile, smile.
right.
It's exactly what we want to happen.
So here's there's more. I feel connected with. I've talked with people. I mean, I've talked with, or people, and we all have it. Let's just say issues.
Yes.
And I feel connected. Let's just say if you're on a plane or a bus where there are a group of people, we don't know each other, and we're all in an elevator, right? We get on the elevator, and we're at the time that we're on that elevator or on that bus, we are a potential team. If something happened to that elevator or to that bus or that plane, and we survived all that, we are a team, and we have to, or get to, survive our situation. We have these talents there in this elevator. We don't know each other. We don't know each other yet. I feel this. It's a big deal. I don't understand how I happen to feel so much about that, but I do. I feel the curiosity that's there, and my perception about what we're doing is, I feel you. And the curiosity about having your piece on the cover of a book is part of that. What is going to make you get the book? It's not buy the book. I mean, you can buy the book, and we'll all make our, $2.86 or whatever. And we have it on the coffee table. You get the book because you felt like it, or somebody talked you into it, or somebody bought it for you, or whatever reason, and you have it, and if you like it pretty well, and you put it on the coffee table and you forget about it, and then you bring your food in there, your popcorn, and it gets all over the book. And the feeling of the book, or the process of the pages in there, still permeates the room, whether you're particularly aware of it or not. And when the dog walks by and his tail knocks the book over onto the floor, and your kids sort of stumble against it and ends up under the couch, the feeling of the process still permeates the room. I feel that. That's my story. I feel it. So when I said, well, we just put the poem on the cover, because you're going to want to turn the page and see what's in there. That's what's going to happen if you, that's my feeling about it. It's against what everybody does. And it's about, how are you going to sell the book? And you're going to go to this bookstore and you're going to get down on your hands and knees and you say, please, please, please put this book in there. No, that doesn't work. The feeling is not there. That's my whole story.
And it's a beautiful story, because it's you. It's
me, but it's not all those other people.
However,
No,
it's not. But everybody else can tap into that same, who am I and how do I feel? How do I feel about whatever it is in life? As long as you're authentic with stuff. What I've been thinking about, and it's kind of tangent to this, but when you think about book, I thought about it because when you said, like, oh, all of a sudden we would be a team. If something happened in an elevator, the elevator got stuck, we'd be a team. Maya Angelou, when she wrote the poem for the Bill Clinton's first inauguration, it's just a beautiful poem, and I would encourage all of you out there, if you haven't read it, read On the Pulse of Morning by Maya Angelou. And she goes through and she looks at three different things: a rock, a river, and a tree. And they speak, and they kind of recount the history of humanity. And you can think, oh, this is so deep. And it's not a super long poem at all. It's maybe 2 pages. But she recounts all of this from the standpoint of a rock, seeing what happened with humanity, a river, seeing what happened with humanity, a tree, seeing what happened. And it could be all this. I mean, you could take off in all kinds of philosophical ways and be left with, like, what you're talking about, Marian, about, like, well, how can I do this? What can I do? It's not me. And it's not much hope or whatever. And ultimately she gets down to the end, and her whole finale is, her whole culmination is to be able to step out the door in the morning, step out of the door of your car in Forest Park, and look at your neighbor, your sister, your brother, whoever it is, and to simply say, good morning.
Right.
To just say, you connect. And it's what you're talking about. You feel like you have this connection with people. You connect. And that's the essence. That's the inner child, my inner child connecting with your inner child, my spirit, my heart connecting with your heart. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be deeply. You don't have to discuss what that means. It's just a matter of, if you're connected with somebody, you can do something as simple as a little nod of the head and a smile and say good morning. And that can change, in the context of Maya's poem, that can change the history of humanity. Something as simple as that. And that's all we're not trying to even change the history of humanity. We want people to have this same energy and feeling that we've had as we've worked through this together.
Right. Yes, I just want you to have a good minute.
Yep.
Even when I'm on the phone with one of those folks who have jobs answering the phone and helping you solve your issue with the company or something. Those customer service folks, they're all women, all women, all women, always. And I say, we're all women out here. How's it going? Oh, well, my company says, no, just take a second. I say, how are you doing? Anyway, and ended up telling her I'm a wildlife photographer, and I'm inviting her to look me up. And she says, I said, it's free. You smile. We're women. I can use that because we're women.
Yeah.
Just do it. the okay, so the way the things are today, a lot we're afraid and worried, which we have every right to be, because the places we can't go, or we were scared to go because it's dangerous. Things happen. I get that. You have to deny a lot of stuff and don't go to those places. So about the cover, so if we, let's just say for the moment that we decide, Mike, you're the guru, so really it's your you're going to decide, and if you show it to your group, which I'd like to be part of, you get 100%. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. You shouldn't do that, or it's not a good idea to do that, or why are you doing that? Right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Right. Don't do that. Why?
Yeah.
And
It's funny that you mentioned that, Marian.
Yeah.
Because the story is, and I don't know if it's absolutely true or not, but Walt Disney, when he had an idea and he would present it to the board of directors, unless they 100% said, no, we can't do that, he didn't want to proceed with it. He wanted every one of his board of directors to disagree with him about it.
Oh.
And because then he would realize this is something that can help, that can work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when we end up with our project done, the little book is in your hands, or and we give talks somewhere. We're going to get hangouts in different places and give some talks about why maybe the decision was made, to the controversial decision. Controversial because why is it controversial to put the cover on? Let's say we decide to do it. Why? It's a question, like why?
Yeah.
Because that's what we've always done. Why? Why is that? What? It's why.
Yes.
Well, it's rude. It's what? Well, that's where I'm coming from, but not anyway, it's a great discussion. It's always a great discussion. Oh, but I want to say this. I was part of a group one time where we it's called LifeSpring thing. I went to it. And there were a group of about 30 people in one room, and we were instructed to go to this other room. And we all went to the other room, and the instructor said, "Are you all here?" We looked around and said, "We don't know." Was there anybody left behind? Well, I don't know. Well, why don't you know? Somebody might have been left behind your group. So that was lesson number one. Look around, see if your group is there. Number two, okay, so now here's this group, and you have to decide how to take care of yourself for the next week. So what are you going to do? So that was the instructions. So somebody said, well, I want to be the chairperson. And somebody else said, well, I do too. Right? And they started being rowdy with each other. And somebody poked up and said, well, now don't get upset. She said, so the instructor said, these are you that you would respond to without being told, your reactions when you're in a situation like that. And it was so telling. And then others, I stood in the background and said, well, I don't want to get involved in this.
Interesting.
So,
yes.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And it's the same kind of thing with, I guess, why? Okay.
Why wouldn't you do it like that? Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Okay, I'm done with that. Sorry.
Okay. I think we've probably been on long enough today, and I hope we both hope that it's brought a smile to you today just thinking about this, and that it just adds to your day in some way or another. It's some rich part. Yes.
We're thinking of you.
We are thinking of you.
Each one.
We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't thinking of you, but it's thinking of ourselves too. And
that's true.
And that's the way life works. So
okay, then.
Okay, very good. I'm going to stop the share and back to normal. And we will hopefully next week be back with another edition of this, and we will continue our work too. So, okay, very good. It's been great, Marian.
Bye.